friends.
Family
Okay.
and friends.
Welcome to our shared living room. This is Kate's living room.
Kate.
And my living room. Please stand up, Kate. I know she hates these moments. Kate Luzio. She is the wonderful owner of Luminary NYC and this space and this co-working hub that up-levels, upskills, and mobilizes women entrepreneurs and leaders here and domestically?
All over the world.
All over the world.
All over the world.
Amen for all over the world. Yes, amen for all over the world. Thank you, Luminary. I'm a fellow Luminary member. Thank you to all of those who are here in this space and those who are also on the Zoom. I'm gonna get rid of this phone, but I do want to take a picture for those of you who braved the streets and made it here today. So I want you guys to get like you're at a Beyonce concert. Okay? I'm not Beyonce, but you know, one day I'm gonna be on tour with her, okay? But I want you guys to act like you're in a Beyonce concert because I want to just quickly take a quick video of you guys and then a photo. Is that okay?
Yeah. Should we put on music?
All right.
For this?
All right. Put on music for 2 seconds. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, panel. Hey, panel. Yay. Boom. That was fabulous. And let's start the official conversation. My name is Trisha Tate, and I am CEO of FinCore. I've been a finance professional for over 20 years. I love numbers. I love math. I love spreadsheets. I know a lot of people do not. But I also have a passion and a love for dance. And so a lot of that creativity comes into and informs what I do as a finance professional, as a CFO, financial consultant, spreadsheet mama for business owners. I've been a finance professional, like I said, for 20 plus years. I've been on Wall Street, worked at Merrill Lynch and Citigroup, and 6 years ago, I decided to start a company now called FinCore, with the opportunity of helping business owners grow and scale their businesses, but by providing the financial education, knowledge, and support that they needed. I know that most business owners are not numbers people. They're not financial people. And I encounter that all of the time. And so one of my main purposes with working with businesses is, of course, to help you increase profits and cash flow, right? You know, to help you ultimately, help business owners ultimately create the financial freedom that they need, right? But I know that a lot of people are not numbers people, and so one of my key things when I'm working with clients is to make sure they are financially empowered, that they have the language and the vocabulary and the confidence to walk in their CEO shoes and make decisions. So I'm saying all of that because that was the premise under which I wrote this book that shouldn't have a sticker on it, called Dancing with Numbers, because that is the energy that I want people to feel around their numbers and their financials. It can be fun, it can be informative. And so with that, I also interviewed a bunch of business owners who grew and expanded their businesses, but they weren't necessarily numbers people. So I introduced 4 of the 12 business owners. There are a couple of others in here who I interviewed. Thank you, Jerry, for contributing to this project. But I wanted people to hear from other business owners so they don't feel alone. Because sometimes dealing with as an entrepreneur, you feel like you're out there in the middle of the ocean, on a boat, with no anchor, with no one around.
Except sharks.
Except sharks, yep, sharks.
And you're treading water.
And sometimes you feel like you're gonna drown. And then there are people that you surround yourself with, a team, hopefully somebody like me on your money team that helps you stay afloat, right? And so I wanted you to know that there are other business owners that are like you who may not have had a business background or MBA and do not have a financial background. So I'm gonna dive into this conversation, which is really about growing a financially healthy business, despite the fact that the economists are expecting a recession next year in 2023. So how do you do that? And that's what we're going to talk about today. There are many financial challenges that business owners go through, and I wanted to have Ramon and Jenny. So Ramon of Zone of Genius. Jenny owns Blue Marble Ice Cream, so 3 shops in New York City, 2 of which she started in the pandemic. We're going to talk about that. Lauren came all the way here from California. Love her for that. Texas, sorry.
Way to go.
Texas. And Joe. And I'm going to have each of them really quickly, 30-second commercial, introduce themselves. I can't do it justice, so I will allow them to do so. Please.
Sure. Pleasure and honor to be here today. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Kate, again, thank you for being here, having been in this space and seeing your journey. Nicole, it's great to see you here and the entire team. Thank you, Tricia, for having me. And again, congratulations to you. Hats off to you. And it's an honor to be here on this panel with these people. Ramon Ray started 5 very small companies, sold 3 very small companies. And today I'm the publisher of zoneofgenius.com, which is a media company where we help small business owners live life fulfilled, kind of like Inc. magazine and Fast Company had a baby, and the baby was really, really small and stayed small. Also the publisher of BWC Daily. We have 60 experts with about 200,000 members on Clubhouse, and we publish 8 to 10 articles per day, Monday through Saturday, and so that's what I do right now, and I think that's good enough.
I'm going to follow that amazing tempo. My name is Jenny Dundas. I co-founded Blue Marble Ice Cream back in 2007, New York City's only certified organic ice cream company. We followed up by starting a nonprofit. We opened an ice cream shop in Rwanda. We opened another ice cream shop in Haiti. These were nonprofits owned fully by the partners on the ground there where we founded them. That's a whole other story, but I like to include it. And we grew our business from 1 little scoop shop in Boerum Hill to 3 scoop shops. We have a private events division. We offer our pints in Whole Foods and various places throughout the city and metro New York area. And we also have a wholesale business where we sell our bulk tubs and soft serve ice cream. So our partners have included the Barclays Center. We were on JetBlue First Class for many years. We were partnering with Starbucks Roastery when they first launched. We were in the cafeteria at Facebook. Our ice cream is on the menu at Bear Burger. All the Bear Burgers, if you've ever been to one, that's our ice cream and their milkshakes. Harlem Shake.
Yum.
And a number of other wholesale clients that we have that you don't really know that you're eating our ice cream, but you really are.
Yay.
Hey, hi. My name is Lauren, like Lauren with an R, and by the way, that ice cream is amazing. We are from Austin, Texas, and we came here for this event, and I was like, I have to try this before I leave, and it is amazing. But my name is Lauren, and I am a business advisor, and I specialize in implementing human-centered business and marketing for a variety of different scaling companies as large as BigCommerce, Serenity Kids, and a lot of top different across the world. And I just love talking to humans behind the brand to see them. It's like, you're a happy human. You're a part of companies to do stuff in the world that you're really passionate about. Why are you selling your soul with transactional marketing? So that is what I do every day. And if you want, you can check out my YouTube channel where I talk about slime, was the most recent video, and why it is PG Babies is like 1.5 million in followers, has Kim Kardashian endorsing it, and it's still a small business, and why it still feels authentic. So that's my nerdiness.
Love you.
Thank you. My name is Joe Applebaum. This mic's not working, but I'm using it as a prop.
You want to use mine?
Okay, it's okay. I'm sure you guys can hear
It's
me.
better to use it for the people on.
Okay, I'm using it for the people on. I'm using it for the people on. Anyway, my name is Joe Applebaum. I'm the founder of Ajax Union. We're a digital marketing agency I founded in 2008. We grew to be one of the fastest growing companies in the US on the Inc. 500. And a couple of years ago, I realized that I was majorly overweight and I was very unfulfilled. So I went on a personal development journey, lost 100 pounds, wrote 5 books, started a new business that really filled my soul up, teaching people how to use LinkedIn. Over the past 3 years, we've trained over 1,000 companies, and we're growing. And I'm really excited about not just running Ajax, but also running Evergreen, where we're helping people be able to create businesses, generate hundreds of thousands of dollars using LinkedIn. If you guys are not using LinkedIn, like, the woman I was talking to outside, she's like, I'm on Instagram. I was like, if you want clients, let's get tipsy on LinkedIn. We had a whole conversation about that. Anyway, bottom line is LinkedIn now has 875 million members, and it's growing at a rate of 2 new members every second. It has more millionaires than any other platform. So if you guys are not using LinkedIn, I highly encourage it. And if you want to learn how to use it, I have a free workshop at businessnetworkingworkshop.com. I highly recommend you check it out. Thank you.
Awesome. I love this panel. So we're going to dive right into the conversation. I'm going to refer back to the book, certain pages in the book. If you have the book, you can open it. If not, and you're in the Zoom universe, it's available on Amazon, Dancing with Numbers. If you are here, there are some books in the back, and at the very end, we're going to sell books and sign them. So I'm going to pitch this question to Ramon. In the book, Ramon said, I grew up in a household led by my preacher father. He was generous and honest man, and while you learned charisma, charity, and community-mindedness, not many money lessons were taught in the household. But 5 businesses, 3 sold, and 15 years later, Ramon was proud to tell me, today, Ramon is debt-free, cash flow positive, and has a cash cushion.
Woo! I want to see that cushion.
Now, my question to you is, what were your money beliefs as a child, and how did that manifest in your business?
Sure, and again, Tricia, thanks for having me. I think there's 3 money beliefs. As one who has not researched this, but as one who talks from the top of his head, and which is often wrong. But I think there's 3 money beliefs. And I think the one money belief that people may have is the negative money belief, a belief of impoverishment, belief of can't do it, et cetera, et cetera. Most of you all here are smarter than me for sure. So I think that's one money belief. I think the second money belief is the belief of I can do it, money as an investment, and et cetera. But I think possibly the most dangerous money belief, the money belief I had, was the money belief of neutrality. So meaning you didn't have that or negative, you just didn't know. I didn't know about 401k. I thought it was like a cereal, like a cereal or something, Captain Crunch or something. Didn't know for literally until just a few years, short time ago. 401k, SEP, investments, compound interest. Didn't learn it. I had beautiful, wonderful parents. So my point being, to answer briefly, is that I think my journey only recently, as I've been on a journey of my own personal development, learning about, you can go fast alone, but farther with others. That's new for me. And so in the same way, educating myself about money. So I think that's been my money belief, just not having any belief either until I got it. And thanks to you, Tricia.
Yes, as an entrepreneur in your business, I remember you shared a couple stories with me, one in particular that kind of stuck with me. I want you to speak about a specific moment when it triggered a change in your money belief and your mindset from that place of neutrality or maybe impoverishment to one of like success or cash flow positive. Yeah. Like, what was that? Walk us through that.
Sure.
That moment.
Yeah, I am one of the people that Tricia talks about where money has, and it still is, and thankfully for Tricia and her brothers and sisters in this space, where money is difficult for me. I was just talking to Joe actually a few minutes ago, and he just blew my mind with his grasp of the concepts. Money is very difficult for me. If I talk too long, Tricia, I'll cry about it because it's a sore spot. I'm not good at math. I don't spell well, and really, it's something maybe childhood. That's just not my gift. So my point being is that, but I recall speaking with somebody and probably reading, this is before Dancing with Numbers was out, and it just clicked. I didn't fully understand it, but I felt someone like was in a dark room and somebody gave him a dimly lit candle that was about to be blown out. That feels good when you're in a dark room. That candle, you're like, oh, wow. And so that was the moment where I realized, oh, I can read numbers, profit and loss statements. I couldn't even spell QuickBooks, couldn't even spell profit or loss. I still don't know how to spell balance sheet, but realizing that, oh, now I get it just a little bit. Every number should have be assigned something, all those things people say. So that's where I think it went off, that at least even today, I can say, great, I'm spending money on this. What's getting back? Things like that. So just that small opening has made me aware a little bit, and then to know that there's amazing people, not forget people like Tricia, that there's Tricia, who I can turn to and get help to do the rest. Just like Facebook ads, we need to know a little bit. I don't need to know it all. I can call somebody for help.
Right. Well, Ramon does a lot of events for small business owners, and I know it's probably pretty costly a lot of times to run those events. And so You know, I know sometimes when we're planning events and doing what we do as entrepreneurs, we put everything on our what? Our credit card, right? And we run up that credit card and you're just like, oh, well, I'm gonna pay it off. And then it kind of gets put on the back burner and then you try to find some other, and it's just like a vicious cycle and takes you down, many business owners down a funnel. I wanna know if anyone else on the panel has a moment where they can think about a moment in their entrepreneurial journey where their mindset had to shift between what they learned in childhood and what they needed in order to move the business forward. Anyone else?
I mean, for me, it was, I always thought that if I had the right skills, I would make money. Like, I would make a lot of money, so I was obsessed with learning as many skills as possible. But I didn't realize that I didn't have a grasp of money at all. As a matter of fact, my parents didn't have an abundance mentality growing up. My mother tried to build a business in the Lower East Side for 10 years, and eventually she went out of business. And it's because she didn't have people like Trisha to advise her and to look at her numbers and to realize, like, what the hell are you doing? What are your costs of goods sold? What is your fixed expenses? How are you going to scale? What are you going to do? Even asking those questions, I never saw that. So for me, I just thought it was just skill, 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 skill. And I didn't believe in coaches either. So for me, it's like, oh, coaches, if they were good, they would run their own business. They must suck. That's why they're a coach. And that was my belief. And think about that, what that would do to somebody who needs to go to a coach to get coached on how to do numbers. So that was a major, major mindset issue that I had to shift to be able to grow one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S.
And what was your trigger? What was the trigger moment that got you to hire coaches and do all of this self-improvement?
When I realized that I was basically I was making a lot of revenue, millions of dollars in revenue, but I was just like literally just losing money. And the more money I made, the more money I lost. I was just like, oh, we're growing, we doubled, 1 million, 2 million, we're just growing, 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 and all of a sudden we're like, I can't afford to grow anymore. I just don't have enough money to lose to just keep growing.
So Joe brings up a very important point, and I sum this up in a sentence that I give in a lot of my workshops. So sales, revenue, is vanity.
Yes.
Profit is sanity, but cash flow is reality.
Woo!
Come on now.
Can we give her a round of applause?
So, a lot of clients that I have are like, oh, I made $500,000 this year. Oh, I made $1 million. But I can't pay myself. I don't have any cash in the bank. Where did the cash go? They're not tracking their books. And they get themselves into, sometimes it's just you're running the day-to-day operations and you just really kind of lose sight of those things. So what Joe is talking about, really important point. You could be making a lot of money, but have no cash to keep the lights on, right? I want to shift.
Can I add to that?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's like cash ramp is so key. I talk about this with clients all the time, is that they're like, we did this, we grew by like 100% or 40% or whatever. And they bring on their teams, right? So I deal in the world of marketing, but I also deal in the world of culture. And then what they get is a lot of really excited implementers. And when you're the visionary, it's really easy to, when you start the business, to do everything and be in the weeds. And then you grow and you're like, oh, I can kind of let go. And then you kind of like word bomb your to-do list of the things that you never get to. And then you're like, you'll figure it out, and zero boundaries are set. Zero. And then what you suddenly see in like 30 days is so-and-so took your guide, you gave them zero boundaries, you never discussed what done looked like, and then you're suddenly, all of your cash ramp that you had when you were in control disappears. And then you're like, oh my God, because you don't see it until your bookkeeper comes to you and be like, yeah, so all of the stuff that we had is gone, and if another pandemic happens, if the recession happens, if people don't pay my AR, or God forbid, knock on hardwood with COVID, is like, I get sick with COVID and I end up in the ICU, what do I do? And then there's a whole other thing, the funny thing, you call me a legal person, I was just advising someone about power of attorney, making sure you have a medical attorney, all that jazz. Like, people don't think of the bad things that could happen in worst case scenario because it feels bad, just like how we avoid our numbers because it feels bad. And it's about stepping away with it and understanding that everything that Trisha does and other CFOs like her does is it gives you boundaries so that you can work on what you love to do.
Yeah, so I would say that when I work with clients, I make sure the CEO takes off their rose-colored glasses. That's my responsibility. You may not like me sometimes. You may not want to listen to what I have to say sometimes. And I have some clients in the room, and they're like, Trisha, close your ears because we're going to say something that you don't really like, right? But that is my job, and that's what you want someone who's, on your money team to do, to help put some guardrails around your imagination and creativity as a CEO. We don't want to stop you from building the empire that you need to build, but that's why you need to have certain people. I am a CFO, but I always tell business owners, start with having a strong CPA, certified public accountant, and then next level have a bookkeeper that is tracking the ins and outs of your business, so you at least have a good picture of what your numbers look like, and so that you can make decisions. I come in on the next level where you're like planning for the future. So here, sitting in December, what should you be doing looking into 2023? Planning for every single month. Trying to forecast what's gonna come in and thinking about how you can manage what's gonna go out. Within the book, I have something called, I created something called the 10 Cash Flow Commandments. For those of you who are hip-hop aficionados, you know where the 10 cash flow kind of is. Biggie's a homage to Biggie.
Never
but in
let
here,
no one know how much dough you hold, cause the cheddar breeds jealousy, especially.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that, but yes. In the book, it's called the 10 Cash Flow Commandments. It's really important to manage cash flow, especially as you're walking into crisis. I always say have about 3 to 6 months, more like 6 months. The pandemic is like 6 months of cash flow in your bank account in order to potentially weather the storm. And also to take advantage of opportunities, which takes me to my next situation, my next comment/question. So, Jenny, after her 10th year in business, she realized her business was losing a lot of money. So she did a deep dive analysis of every distribution channel, right? Because she sells ice cream, so she's selling it to people in state, out of state, all over the place. And she looked at every customer account, retail, personal, the wholesale customers. She learned that distributing pints out of state was not profitable for the business. The sales volume for out of state customers was not high enough to fill a truck and cover the costs of freight and all the other things. And therefore, Jenny decided to cut unprofitable out-of-state customers, get rid of the commercial truck, and instead hired a distributor to transport pints to customers. While her business lost revenue, she cut expenses and gained profitability, and she achieved double-digit margins, which was higher than her industry average. That is on page 91. What I want to talk to Jenny about, right? She shared that story. I want to ask Jenny about 2020. In the pandemic, you got one store in Brooklyn, and you decide you're gonna open 2 stores. In the middle of a pandemic, when people are scrounging for loans and cash flow and money, this is what you did in the middle of a crisis while we were in Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses. You were working your growth plan. Can you tell us how you even funded that? Like what was going through your mind when you took advantage of that opportunity?
Well, because I had gone through this intense self-audit in 2018, 2019, well really in 2018, 2019 I had spent really getting everything in order and making sure every piece of the business was profitable and cash flow positive. So thankfully. And so we were actually in an okay position going into 2020. But the thing that came in 2020 was I then did an audit of my retail shop because I had done an audit of my wholesale. Well, what happened in 2020 was my wholesale, the bulk of my business was actually selling into restaurants, selling into food service establishments. Well, what happened to them in 2020? They closed. So it went from being the majority of our business to being the extreme minority of our business and going, okay, well, the only thing I have that's actually, I know I can get customers in every day is my scoop shop. That's my brick and mortar, which was a small part of my business before. And I actually went into my brick and mortar and I started working behind the counter again because I was like, this is where I can make money because I know I have customers coming coming in. And the more I was there, the more customers we had coming in, because they're like, she's showing up. She set up a walk-up window at the door. I'm gonna go buy coffee from her and buy ice cream from her because it's her. She's, you know, it was a very intense experience. But while I was there in the scoop shops, I started to think, okay, well, when we reopen the doors, we're gonna change some things. We're not gonna have Sundays anymore because we lose money on every Sunday we sell. We're not gonna have milkshakes anymore because we lose money on every
But they
milkshake we
taste
sell.
so good.
Sorry. Cash flow is reality, right?
That's right.
I was able to, once I got back into the management kind of position in the shop, go, okay, what are these changes that we need to make? And there were a lot of them. So I could talk forever about this, but anyway, so I was able to turn the retail shops much more cash flow positive than they had been before, and because of that, and because of the changes I had made to my wholesale business, I was actually able to leverage the, how do I put this? The profit. I was able to get my PPPs, right? So that helped with my paying my expenses,
PPP loan, right? The PPP loan.
And I was able to get the idle loans as well. And those helped to float my businesses, but because they ended up being more profitable, I was able to take that profit and open the new shop. And then I actually had an investor approach me and say, I really want you to open another shop in my neighborhood because we need it, because, you know, raise your hand if you live in New York City, it's pretty much everybody. It's been rough just keeping our kind of culture together, keeping our neighborhood stores open. And so it was somebody who wanted a shop in their neighborhood that said, you know, and had seen what I had done. So the funding came from a couple different sources, and that's it in a nutshell.
I want to share something with you. Like, how quickly did the place come up, and were you able to buy? Like, what was the turnaround time? Maybe like 6 months, 3 months?
Sorry, I remember seeing the first one I opened after the pandemic was, we saw in September 2020. We opened in first week of April 2021.
Okay, so hold on a second.
We saw it, but we didn't get the space until the end of the year.
Got it. But the thing is, you saw it, you knew you had the money to do it, right? And then this investor approached you. Now, it's not easy to get investors, first of all. So the fact that an investor...
that was for the second opening.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah,
okay.
It was a year later, but...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm just sort of walk with me here. So an investor approached you because they saw an opportunity, but investors don't just give you money. You had to have all your documents and everything ready and prepared. Were you ready?
Absolutely.
Or did you have to put together a business plan?
No, I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years now. So at the time, 12, 13 years. And I had learned how to, when I first started, I didn't know what Excel was. I had never heard of it. I was a theater major. Like, I did not even know. I remember my brother being like, this is Excel. It's like, there's numbers and it's a sheet and there's like squares and rectangles and functions. So, but over the course of those years, I knew I had to figure it out. So by the time I had this person approach, and it wasn't the first investor we'd taken over the years, I kind of knew how to, I knew the story of my numbers, and I knew what I could project in the future for my numbers. So yes, I had them at hand.
Okay, so I wanted to bring that point alive, because you never know when an opportunity is going to strike, and you need to be ready. And you were really ready. You knew your story. You knew how to project the future, and you probably had your financials from the past couple of years, because they always want like 2 years of tax returns and whatever your current P&L is showing.
Sure.
But you had those things ready to go.
Yes.
Awesome. In the middle of we're coming out of a pandemic.
Yeah, and then to be honest, like the last year hasn't been as great as what I hoped it would be. 2022 is actually worse than 2021 as far as top line.
Okay.
It was hard because why? We had to raise prices because costs went bananas, freight went bananas. I just explained to my 12-year-old the other day, why? Just because gas costs more, how come that means the Christmas tree costs more? I said, well, think about it. Yeah. What do they use to cut the tree down? What do they use to get it here? Freight affects everything. Gasoline affects everything. So everything went up, so I raised my prices. What does that do to customers? You know, so it's been a really rough year,
Right.
but we are, you know, we're okay,
Right.
and we had, you know,
So you had that.
you gotta keep flexing, you gotta keep, you know.
You can keep yourself
Yeah.
flexible. So she's partly self-funded and was ready for an opportunity with investors. I want to sort of like change this a little bit. She took advantage of an opportunity during the pandemic. Also, rents were really low in New York City, right? So she was also ready. When a recession or a financial crisis is coming around, I want to ask any one of the panel members, actually I want to start with probably with Joe. What are some things you can do to grow the business despite the fact that a recession is coming on?
So for me, what I would tell a business owner that wants to grow the business is look at your offers and look at your target market. Because although 80% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, there are 22 million millionaires in the United States. So thinking about who you're targeting is so important. A lot of people, they don't want to pigeonhole themselves, so they don't target a specific demographic of people. They're like, I want everyone.
They were like, I'm leaving money on the table if I don't preach to everybody.
Exactly, but if you really think about who you really want to work with and you figure out what offer you can make them so that you can give them, let's say, a 10x ROI or 100x ROI, then even if it's a pandemic, people are willing to turn $1 into $10 or whatever. You know, you can either help people make money, save money, or eliminate risk. Those are the three really competitive advantages that you have in a business. But if you think about your target market, even during a pandemic, even during a recession, there are people that still have money. So really rethink who you're targeting in your business. I had to do that several times in my business, and it completely changed the way that we started our business in 2008.
Wow.
That's when I started Ajax Union in 2008,
In the middle of a recession.
and we doubled every single year after that, and we hit Inc. 500, and it was because we picked the right target market. Now, I didn't know anything about that stuff when I started, but I got a coach, and I started learning, and I started improving myself as a human being. But, you know, I think it was Jim Rohn that says you can only grow your business as much as you grow yourself. So reading this book is probably
Say that one more time.
You can only grow your business as much as you grow yourself.
I like that.
That was Tony Robbins' mentor, Jim Rohn, who
Bars.
passed away. So, incredible stuff.
So I want to focus on something that you said. No matter what market it is, if you know the heartbeat, if you know what your customers are thinking, if you know how they buy, where they are psychologically when they buy, who they are, what they're feeling in the moment they make a buying decision, who are the competitors, the alternatives they go to when they can't afford you and when they really want to buy. If you know all those things about your competitors and you tap into what they need at every single moment, whether it's a high or a low, you will continue to grow your business.
Yes.
Right? And so Joe grew his business in a recession. And then I remember in the book, you told me money is not about luck, or growing a business is not about luck, it's about strategy. And then you started a second business in the middle of 2020, right? Talk about that.
When it was March 2020 happened, within like 2 weeks, we lost about 75% of our reoccurring revenue at our agency. We were doing a lot of business.
Say that one more time. You said you lost 70%.
75% of our reoccurring revenue, suddenly within 2 weeks we lost. But I did not panic.
Come on now.
The reason I did not freak out and panic is because I've been around the block. I knew I had confidence in myself. I used to not have any confidence in myself. I had confidence in my partner, in my business, in the economy, and everybody else but myself. But because I've been around the block and I've read so many books, hired so many mentors, got so many coaches, I knew that I would be able to figure it out with the amazing team that I had. And although we'd have to rely on things like the PPP loans, and although we had to rely on things like the EIDL to make it, and other sources of income to be able to not have to fire anybody at our company, we decided that we're going to start a done-with-you business. So Ajax Union is a done-for-you business. We build funnels for B2B companies. We build up entire, very complex marketing systems. And starting LinkedIn was more around me wanting to be fulfilled, training on LinkedIn. But instead of doing it for people, we said, you know what, let's train. And the reason I started that business is because with Ajax Union, I had a very high cost to deliver. If I'm building a website, it costs me a high percentage to build that website for you. But if I'm doing training and I build a course, that's much more scalable and my bottom line is much higher. So even if I produce a lot less revenue, my profit and my cash is much higher. Think about generating $100,000 in 1 month in a business where it's 90% profit, gross profit, not net profit because it's fixed expenses. But think about a business where you do $100,000 in a month and you do 90% gross profit versus a business where you could only do maybe 50% or 60% gross profit. It's a completely different animal in terms of your ability to grow the business and your ability also to impact the customers, because I could reinvest in delivering a world-class service to my customers because I could hire extra people to add more value to the customer. And at the end of the day, the reason I get referrals is because of the value that I add. The reason I have over 400 recommendations on my LinkedIn profile, where most people don't even have 3, is because we're actually making an impact for people. So I want you to think about the impact that you make for people in your business is usually as a result of how much cash you're producing and how much profit you have, and that will enable you to give a better experience. If you charge, think about this. I want everyone to think about what would happen to your business if you decided to 10x how much you charge. I really want you to think about what would happen to your business if you would charge 10 times what you're charging right now and deliver 10 times more value and make 10 times more profit. Think about that.
So I want to go back to the fact that you were able to start that business because you knew your market and what they needed at
They were
the
begging
time.
me.
They were begging
They were
you
on
for
their
it.
knees saying, please,
That's right. And
for
so-
the cheese. I like Biggie Small.
And I was one of those people. But he was talking about sales, gross profit. Just want to break that down a little bit. If you're bringing in $100,000 from a business, but you're only spending $10,000 on the course, that profit from that, right? What's left over, what trickles down to the bottom line, is much higher than if you're running a company where you're making $100,000, but then you got to hit payroll, marketing expenses, rent, utilities, all these other things that are eating into that revenue. Your profit at the end of the day is going to be lower. So he built a business that was highly profitable.
And Tricia, can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to add a thing about dialing in on the knowing who your customer is. And as a speaker, one line of revenue of my business, I dialed in it so specific to the perfect customer as far as me hosting events and speaking at events. They do events in Las Vegas. They have 5,000 or more attendees, and most likely they've hired Gary Vaynerchuk, Brene Brown, Marcus Lemonis, Damon John are one of those $100,000 more speakers. That means they can afford to pay Ramon $30,000 to host their event. So I've dialed it in that in depth, and that's how you start 10xing making a profit. Yes, I can speak all over. I'll speak somewhere for cupcakes. Don't tell anybody that. Or for, or from Caribbean food or something like that. Yes, egg rolls.
Oh, I can help you with the Caribbean food.
Oh, edibles. But my point is, if you
I can
dial
help you
that
with
in
Caribbean food.
very specifically, you'll make more money.
So I wanted to touch on another thing that you brought up, which was pricing.
Okay.
Which was pricing. And I want to throw this over to Roran because in one of the workshops that I teach, I'm like, what should business owners do in order to level up and grow their businesses? And I talk about the 4 Ks. It's also in here, right? Know your customer, know your competitor, know your numbers, but also know your worth. And a lot of business owners are not pricing correctly. And even if they bumped up their pricing 1%, it would make a difference. Now, I know we are in inflationary times, but even when we were not in inflationary times, people were charging below their value and below their worth. And unfortunately, I have to say, it's particularly women entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Which is why part of my mission is to empower 10,000 women entrepreneurs beyond 7 figures or more, because we are worth it, right? So I want to dial into a conversation that I had with Roran that's also in this book, where she was talking about the challenge that she faced in the beginning of her business, pricing her worth, and how I want you to talk about like how you shifted from where you were, where you are, to grow a sustainable business model.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. So when I first started, to kind of give like background on my money mindset, I grew up with my mother making less than 20K a year. So I grew up but I also came from China, where my family made a lot of money. My parents built a company in front of Tiananmen Square selling medical equipment, and that's how we entered. And so I experienced both worlds, and at the same time was very jaded of what is the meaning to life? Is it just materialistic gain, and why do we do all these things? And when I started my business, I ran an agency in digital marketing and media when our job description existed in 2015 officially. And all that was there really as a competitor for me was a major, large, what we call the big box content brand that will charge $500 a month to do a legit content creation, or you have the bigger agencies that do wonderful creative work like T3, GSD&M that live down the street from me in Austin, Texas, and they charge millions. And what we saw a lot of our business owners is this misexpected perception of what value is. And when I started my business, it was like, people were like, what is the meaning of social media? Can you explain to me this magical being that I have? And I was like, yeah, so instead of paying like $10,000 for a like TV ad or whatever ad and hoping it works, I can show you exact metrics, and to our earlier points, exactly where your customer goes to, what they're thinking when you do a retargeting ad, when you do things. And most importantly, it was like, so you can understand your customer, because social media at its core is a direct reflection of human society, and in your case as a brand, it is a direct reflection of your ideal happy customer. And to our point of value and worth, when we're talking about inflation and dollar amounts, and why a company like Yeti will increase its pricing, and then you have that cult love of a Yeti cup, and the people will keep paying for that Yeti tumbler like nobody's business. Like, think of that.
I think I have 5 of them.
You have 5 of them. So you have 5 of them. So there's all of that. That love and loyalty is what we call in sales perception of value. So in sales 101, it's not a how much is it worth and I tell you the price and then you don't have perceived value. When we do sales, we want to build this balloon to where in your mind you think I'm going to charge you over $500,000 because I can get you savings of $500,000 by just looking through you and questioning why are you spending this money on ad budget when you're looking at ROAS at a certain rate. And I will explain to you exactly how Meta operates and how they built their algorithm and save you that money. But I'm only charging you my hourly rate and I can knock it off in a single hour. And I just do that in that price if I wanted to. And that's the value that I sell. So it's so big, and to that point, Yeti in that example, the love of Yeti is so high that even if they increase their rates, it's the whole reason why people roll their eyes at luxury brands. You're paying 50% on the brand versus the quality of the product, right? It's all of that is perception of value. But myself personally, when I started, it was no one knew what we did. And then add that with being a woman and coming from a lower income, it's like I will have to prove my worth to you before I ask for the price. And it's a very common thing that we hear. And then what I realized most importantly to me was when we raised our prices, because we're like, we want to help people, we want to do things. And even in billable hours, when we're talking about scalability, like when I ran my agency, it was very apparent that we were only able to serve about 30 different brands at a single time with our sanity intact. And so we're like, we have a limit in how much we can do, and so we have to charge for that rate. But in charging that rate, it actually allows us to do work for smaller companies. Mm-hmm. It allows us to go work with accelerators and be able to advise at accelerators and not have to charge that amount for it. So it's like, if anyone in this room is like, I don't want to charge that money because I feel icky because it's billionaires and that's what they do, and I don't want to be a douche, don't. It's you charge your worth so you have freedom of time and lifestyle to then serve elsewhere.
That's right.
And that's like the big piece.
So, as you were talking, I was reflecting on sort of my own story and journey in entrepreneurship. And sometimes the difficulty with pricing is not just not pricing your worth, is that you forget how much value you bring to people until people tell you how valuable you have been to them. And I would say, so on a personal note, I have a finance background. I've gone to amazing schools and I have an amazing background in finance. But when I started as an entrepreneur, I did not feel validated to charge certain prices because I hadn't been in the game as long as some people. And so I started out with some real low numbers, even though I went to Wharton and have an MBA and all of these things. People were like, you should be charging me. And I was like, but I haven't been an entrepreneur long enough. And then it took other business owners being like, I would have paid you more for that, for me to charge more, right? That was a learning curve for me. It wasn't that I didn't value myself, I know I'm worth it. But I forgot how much knowledge I have gained that people don't have. And so sometimes it takes you listening to other people and even pushing it. Because you might realize that you increase your prices and your customers might not even bluff. They might not even wink. They're like, oh yeah, well I kind of expected to pay that amount. So I wanted to bring that up because, increasing your price, like try it, just try it.
And you'll know that you're the good ones. I want to point this out really specifically. A bad client costs you triple
my God.
least than a good client. Like,
Yes.
Like I'm sure I see people nodding. They're like, think of that bad client, and you just ruminate at home after your work hours. You get grumpy in the morning when you see an email from them, and it's just the stress. Like, is that really worth you eating late, working late, getting chubby, getting fat, letting yourself go, letting your health go? Like, if anything out of all of this, I was like, health is wealth, man. That is.
I might actually choose to bring on a client if it's a short-term project because I feel like it's meaningful to me. But I could tell from the first or second conversation whether it's going to be a challenge. So I put rail guards on it and I bump up how much I charge them because I know I'm gonna have they're gonna want my time, they're gonna want this extra time, they're gonna want me to go above and beyond the scope of work, and I continuously go back to the scope of work and I put rail guards around the thing. So anyway,
The asshole tax.
Yeah, it's the asshole tax. No, that is the thing. That is the thing. We call it the asshole tax. Yeah.
oh, sorry.
We are charging extra 25%.
Bleep, 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 bleep.
Yeah, sorry.
I just want to jump in and echo that self-care as a small business owner, I'm hearing from almost everyone has said this.
That's right.
That taking care of yourself, like putting your own breathing apparatus on first before you're helping others. I have really, really lived that thing of just draining it out and draining it out and draining it out and draining it out, and you just end up in a drained out pool, unable to float, and it doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah. So one of the things I've been talking about recently, I'm walking business owners through this 6-step method. Well, now it's 7 steps. But 7 steps is in the book as well. 7 steps method to growing a financially healthy business that allows you to choreograph the life that you want. Of course, I leverage choreograph because I love dance. But honestly, as a choreographer, you're creating something from nothing, right? And so us as entrepreneurs, we want to create legacy. We want to be able to give back to our families. We want to be able to pay tuitions. We want to be able to buy cute shoes and go on vacation when we want, right? We want to be able to give back to our community. We want to be able to give back to our employees, give them benefits, health insurance. How can you do all of those things if your business isn't profitable, right? And so I walk people through the 6-step method, but the first step in this profit method is to put yourself first. Because I know a lot of business owners that are playing the martyr. Even though you're going through a financial crisis, even though you're going through, we're planning, as we're thinking about 2023, and you're planning for the future, 2023 and beyond. Put yourself first. If you are not making the salary you want from your business, what is that number? Start with that number and then think about the operating costs to operate your business. Add that on top of that number, and that needs to be the minimum revenue you make for the year. That's like, there's a whole equation you can use to figure out break even. It's a financial term. But at minimum, what do you want your salary to be? And how much does it cost to operate your business and produce your excellent product or service? That is the minimum revenue, not just revenue, but cash you need to be bringing in the door. And then of course there's debt and all the things you need to pay back, you need to cover. So I want everyone, here, before we leave and we kind of wrap up this conversation, to make sure you're putting yourself first as you plan for growing a financially healthy business.
And then can I add to that?
Yeah.
Is once you figure out that number, really ask yourself what it's going to take to do that. And then really ask yourself, is that what you really want to do every day? Because you can make all that money, you can make $10,000, but if you hate your job, why are you doing it? That's the question to ask. And a lot of people are going to tell you, you should do this, you should do that. And the number one thing I look people in the eye and I say, what do you want to do? And like you talk about charging the asphalt tax after. If you go on my website, it is a bold messaging statement. And my favorite clients are the ones that are like, I love it, I see it, I've been saying this forever, and thank you for giving me the language. That's my ideal client. If they try to question me for it, I'm like, yeah, you're not a good fit, bye, you'll figure out later on. That's what it is. And it's being so confident to that point earlier in that, and that's the key. But everything that you do in setting up the numbers in the system, if you're not connected to it, it means it's meaningless.
So I'm going to say this last point before I sort of bring it home. You said, who do you have to be? Who do you have to be as a person, as a business owner, when the storms come? Right? Especially if you have employees. You got to be the calm.
That's right.
You can have a pity party for 24 hours, but that's it.
That's right.
You don't have time for that. You have to be thinking and strategizing, pivot, how do I move the business? How do I get the cash? How do I get the funding? Where's the opportunities? What do my customers need? Oh, let me talk to my customers. Who do you have to be, right? And if you are not who you need to be, then you focus on some professional development, get coaching, mindfulness, mindset work, all of the things in order to weather the storm. So what I'm hearing from everything we talked about in this conversation, going back to the title, to grow a financially healthy business in and out of recession, right? You need to have the right mindset. You need to have that money and that cash flowing in, whether it's from investors or yourself. You need to have the right money moves, recurring revenue, sustainable model, pricing yourself, right? You have to think about who you need to be in order to get that. I know that we are wrapping up. Oh, we're almost at time, but I want to ask the panelists. First of all, have you guys gotten any nuggets from this? Like, is anybody on Instagram right now, or I was going to say the other place, but I'm not going to say that place.
LinkedIn?
No.
LinkedIn,
Yeah. Okay, yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn or Instagram sending some messages on what you're learning from here? Are you guys getting some, hey, in the Zoom land, who's listening in the Zoom land? Do we have anything in the Zoom land? Anybody making any comments or questions in the Zoom land?
No questions, many comments though.
Lots of comments. Okay, awesome. I want to ask one last question of the panelists before we move forward, and then I also offer a free resource. Thinking forward to 2023, how do you plan to dance with your numbers, Ramon?
Sure. One, thank you all for being here today as we get ready to close. And two, I hope all of you take this book and buy it. More importantly, give it an Amazon review. And more importantly, even if you don't have the book with you, haven't bought it, take a copy, take a selfie with it, and just lie and say, I bought this book. You should too on LinkedIn, and put a link to Amazon. So do those three things. And second of all, just want to say also...
He's my PR person, thank you.
Yes, every single day, I produce quite a bit of content talking about mindset. Thank you, Nicole. Talking about mindset, and I encourage you, if you want to hear more from Ramon, if you go to RamonRay.com, you can sign up and hear from me Thursday at 2 p.m. and be also integrated into other properties that I produce for mindset. So that's one. But what I'm going to do with my dancing with numbers, what I'm going to do, Nicole, Tricia, is continue to be open-minded about self-educating myself about numbers and ensure that I work with you to ensure that I have the discipline on those numbers. Because for me, I need both. I just want to repeat that. I'm going to be open-minded to self-learn what I can, but I'm not trying to be Trisha, because Trisha's here and she can just guide me in that journey.
I'm going to continue to listen to my customers. I'm going to keep my finger on the pulse of what people want and try to bring them what they want. And I'm going to look at my numbers on a daily basis and really be aware of my costs, like more than ever right now. And yeah.
I love that. Thank you.
Kind of conservative right now.
I am going to continue tweaking and pivoting. I think that's like pivot from Friends. I am actually in the city that this is relevant in. But yeah, couch pivot, that is basically since 2020 life. But that is life. Life is designed to always have change. And that is the one thing that is constant in our world, is that change is constant. And what it is just that consistently tweaking and flowing as you go. And for me, it's actually, we talk a lot about numbers, but time, the usage of my time is the most important thing to me.
So for me, dancing with numbers is about thinking of new ways to look at my numbers. When I started my agency, it was about recurring revenue. When I started Evergreen, it was more about profitability. And now I'm thinking about, and coming in 2023, is more about scalability. So I'm developing some artificial intelligence software that allows you to comment automatically on people's posts, you know, with emotion, with like your voice, with all that stuff. So I'm working with Microsoft and a few others, which we're developing some interesting things, which will allow us to scale much, much bigger. So I'm excited about that. And Trisha, this was an incredible panel. Can we give her a round of applause?
Big round of applause.
I want to thank you all so much for being here. Everything that you're saying triggers an emotion and a thought. This book was a labor of love. It came from a lot of workshops that I've done and conversations I've had with business owners. And it was carefully constructed to infuse some fun and entertainment and lightheartedness, so that you can have this conversation with yourself, with your family members, with your employees about numbers and financials, so they're not scary. So I did use dance metaphors all throughout this book. It is also structured in 3 parts because of something really critical that Ramon said. The first 3 chapters are called stretch, because you cannot receive I love my dancer over there. You cannot receive information and expand your financial knowledge and confidence if your mind is not open to it. The first 3 chapters are dedicated to how do you overcome discomfort and fear with money and numbers. I don't have a secret sauce, but there are some strategies in here.
There's definitely sauce in there.
Okay, so you know, I put some sauce on it. I put some Caribbean hot sauce on it. Okay. The next 3 chapters is called Strengthen, because now that your mind is open, you're ready to receive all of this information from financial people, advisors, gurus, whatever. And now these are the steps that you can take. So within Strengthen, there are the 10 cash flow commandments and a bunch of other things and how you can manage debt better and all those other things. And in the last 3 chapters, it's how do you grow to peak performance. As a dancer, I've been dancing for over 15 years, and every time I have to do a new ballet or a new piece, it's like starting from the beginning, and I don't feel that level of confidence as much as when I'm on stage and actually performing it. It takes another level of being, another level of something beyond profitability and cash flow to get to peak performance and grow and scale your business. And I talk about those things. It requires you improving yourself, refocusing on your why, looking at your customers, and a bunch of other things. So that last section is called SOAR. I encourage and implore and would love all of you to support this book, Dancing with Numbers. Spread the word of financial empowerment to business owners that are not in this room, who are out there in Zoom universe. Dancing with Numbers is available on Amazon. Acknowledgements to the panelists: Ramon Ray, Zone of Genius,
Thank you so
Jenny
much.
Dundas,
Thank you so
Blue
much for
Marble
having
Ice
us.
Cream. Yes. I want you, Roran Killiam of RXU Consulting from Austin, Texas, who came all the way to New York to be with us on this panel, and of course, see the Christmas tree. And Joe Applebaum of Ajax Union and Evergreen Networking, or Evergreen?
Evergreen.
Evergreen
Thank you so
Networking.
much.
I want to thank Kate Luzio, who had to leave the building, who is amazing in her own space. She has built this beautiful, lovely space for women entrepreneurs and leaders to grow and expand beyond here. I also want to thank the other women and minority entrepreneurs that have supported this. It was really important for me to have vendors that were either women or minority owned. Corkscrew Brooklyn supplied the wines. They're on Myrtle Avenue, run by Karen Torres. One Girl Cookies is in on Dean Street. On Dean Street,
and they cook at Industry City.
They cook at Industry City, also woman owned. Serve Tipsy, where's my bartender? She's over there. All right, mobile bartending services. Latima, I don't know where she is. Megan is the go of this entire operation. I would not be able to pull this all off without you, Megan. I appreciate you. Smooches! We'll have another hour-long debrief after this, okay. And my virtual assistant who's in South Carolina, her name is Alicia Valentin. I want to thank her for being here.